I decided that since probably not too many people are going to be listening to this, or watching, I should say, this live, so it's easier I think, for me and for technical purposes to just pre-record the daily Davening discourses on my home computer, and I'm happy to accept comments and suggestions of any sort. You can always either leave a comment on the YouTube or on my blog or Facebook, or email me. My email address is ygbeckhoffer, 2 H's 1 F, at gmail.com, or ygb@hdas.org. In the meantime, the when I was teaching YBH and I mentioned this video, so the 8th grade girls class who I had today asked me to give them a shout out on this video, and this is the shout out. Now, since you watched it, I hope you continue to watch the rest of the series. The place we're up to is still in the first brocho of Shemoneh Esrei. We're up to Okay Abraham, Okay Yitzchak, Okay Yaakov. We mentioned yesterday that there are 3 different ways of perceiving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they are related according to the Dover Shalom. The Yaakov Avinu, specifically his midah, his way of relating to Hashem, relates to the letter Vav. And then we go on to describe these midos, in fact, these traits or these pathways, however you please. It's saying Hakel, HaGodol, HaGibor, VeHaNorah. Now, Kel, I believe we say, because Kel this means the source of power. And it means to tell us, don't think that by giving these different pathways to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and pathways that Hashem relates to us, that we have a problem which the Mekubalim, the Rivash said that the Mekubalim, that the Christians have a Trinity, and the Mekubalim have the same thing, only with 10. In other words, so you could, so to speak, Rahman al-Islam, split HaKadosh Baruch Hu up into parts and components. Very often when I get essays in my other job in Excelsior College about the various different aspects of Jewish studies, so people write, since they translate Chiluk Elok HaMimal, which bears Netanya, which I think Lash comes from Arizal, literally, that there's a piece of God within me. That's, of course, Epicorsus, God that cannot break up into pieces. There are no parts to God. So there, and we want to stress that, because obviously this is the main pasuk of our devotion, and we want to stress that Hakel, a source of power, above all anything else. The way it relates to us is in these very different ways. By the way, Kel, even though it's related to Elohim, is a shem of Rachamim. So even though it seems to be the root of Elohim, it doesn't matter, because the din is only when things break out into specific pipelines or specific parameters. Then things that we judge, where this fits, where that fits, and so on and so forth, that we categorize. That's din, to categorize things and meet them out with a specific measure and a specific proportion. But without the pipelines, Kel, in and of itself, the source is just a source of flow. And that flows indiscriminately, the Midas HaChesed, and that also is something which, again, represents the totality of oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's master plan, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his master plan, and which is that, I shouldn't say it that way, let's say it this way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's oneness is manifest in Kel, which is the name from which the Hashpah flows down below in Chesed, before necessarily dividing into Gvura, and before being set again. Gvura represents din, before being compartmentalized and measured out. So Hakel, HaGodol, HaGibor, VaNorah, these 3 traits correspond to the traits which we just attributed to Avram, Godol, which means expansive, Gibor, Yitzchak, is Gibor Kobajitso, it's contractive, if we can coin a word. VaNorah, awesome, that's Yaakov, who combines the elements of both, and that's awe-inspiring and awe-provoking. So, and this is Dover Shalom says, Gibor VaNorah, these are the manners in which we and our forefathers perceive HaKadosh Baruch Hu. what he says about Kel is it means we only have a general perception that he's Kel Elokeinu. In other words, he's not as a lofty or transcendent term than Gadol Gibor Vanora, but rather as a diminished, lower term, which is, of course, possibility. The multiple meanings in every bracha of Shemoneh, all of davening, and you can have in one tefillah one way, and the next tefillah the other way. That's the way Chazal designed it, that it should be available to people to understand in the way which they see fit at that point in time, not necessarily always the same as we'll see throughout Shemoneh Esrei. So, again, he says, we don't have a cognizance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship to us in detail, but only in general. So, and then he says, Avram Avinu perceived him with the perception of Gadol. How do we see it in the Chumash? Because it says, Agadla Shemecha, right? The greatness. Yitzchak, to the attribute of Gevura, because it says, Pachad Yitzchak, so, or object of fear of Yitzchak. Yaakov Menorah, because Yaakov said, Manorah HaMakom Hazeh. So, all those traits have foundation in Psukim in the Torah. But then he says, in the Chachmei Emes, the Mekubalim say, Hagadula Chesed Avram, expansive, right? Gagvura Humidas Yitzchak. Hatiferes Hu Norah Yaakov, like we mentioned already before. And because Yaakov combines both together, and that's the meat of Tiferes, which is the inner, the meat in the middle of the other two, the Bria Chatichon, he calls it here, the middle rod between Gdul and Gvura. Therefore, Gadol Gibor with Alpha of Hachibor, and the Hanora is with above Hachibor. So, parallel. I'm a little bit skeptical about this because it just seems like Vav Hachibor in and of itself, not anything more. But just like I said before, the Vav of Yaakov is to combine the two midos of Avram Yitzchak. So here, the Vav of Hanora is to combine the two midos of Gadol and Hagibor. El Elyon, Gomel Chasani Tovim B'Konei HaKol. He's a god. The way I learn it is, Kel Elyon means, after he said Avram, okay, Yitzchak, okay, Yaakov, so you have to say Kel to bring it back together. After he said Gadol Gibor, which is even more specific, we have to say Kel Elyon to bring it back together to an even higher extent. That's how I learn Kel Elyon. But the Dover Shalom says Kel Elyon Gomel Chasani Tovim B'Konei HaKol. Kol Eila Ta'orim, all these descriptions, the lofty lofty source of power, the one who bestows kindnesses, good kindnesses, and the one who is Konei HaKol, we'll come back to that in a moment, what that means. All these are descriptions which you find by Avraham Avinu Alav Shalom. Harimos Yadila El Kel Elyon Konei Shamayim V'Aretz. That's Avraham Avinu, this is Kel Elyon. V'asei Chesed Im Adonai Avraham. The Chesed is Avram by Eliezer, and he comes to get Rivka, and to and the actually those are the two he says. He says, and to further the matter, the Kavanah is that even that he Kodesh Baruch Hu is El Elyon, he transcends this world and is supreme and lofty beyond comprehension. And he doesn't require anything, he gains no advantage from his creations. Nevertheless, because he has great chesed, he's Gomel Chasadim Tovim and Borei HaKol, because he learns that the Konei is a lashon of Bria, like Konei Shamayim V'Aretz. So the way I learn Konei HaKol is that a Kenyan, it comes to the language of Ken. A ken is a nest. When you buy something or sell something, it's changing its nesting place. It's nesting, was first nested in one place, now it's nesting in another place. So a konei means to put everything in its proper place. And that again is the other side of the coin with Gomel Chasadim Tovim. Gomel Chasadim Tovim is undifferentiated. Konei HaKol means to differentiate. Gomel Chasadim Tovim is Chesed. Konei HaKol is Gevura. So the word Konei again means to nest or place everything in a specific place. And even when he says here kinyan is a lashon of bria because konei shamayim va'aretz, I think it means he took shamayim va'aretz and he put them together in the proper way and distinguished between them in the proper way. Now, one other thing here is gomel chasadim tovim. Why chasadim tovim? Because when Reuven does a chesed for Shimon, he might think it's a chesed, but it's not necessarily a chesed. I just heard Moshe on this yesterday. It seems that the home improvement shows on television, they go into poor people's houses and they enhance those houses, improve them, and redo them. And then it seems like a very nice gesture towards people who were impoverished and cannot do it themselves. But then after they're all said and done, the tax assessor comes and says, "Oh, now you have a much nicer house. Now you have to pay much more taxes." And then you can't afford the taxes, so you default and the house is foreclosed and you lose it. So that's the case where you're going to chasadim, the television show was going to chasadim, but they're not chasadim toivim. They're not chasadim which are good. It's a chesed which, in terms of giving, but it's not a good chesed. So therefore we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who can anticipate the ramifications and results of what's going to happen as a result of his being going to chesed, and therefore he is gomel chasadim tovim. No human being can be sure of that they're doing things for the purpose of good chesed, so to speak. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, can have that. Okay? The Zocher Chaz de Avos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers the kindness of the Avos. Maybe go to Bnei Bnehem Laman Shmo B'Yahava, and he brings the goel to their grandchildren, their descendants for his name. So the Geula can come, says the Dover Shalom, and either because it's we deserve it, Shuras Adin, when you behave properly, or because of Chesed, above and beyond Shuras Adin, because we didn't behave properly. Now, so the Sarusa de la Eila, the arousal from on high, it depends on the arousal down below. When we believe we behave properly down below with the Darchei Chesed, so then on high, Mida connected Mida, there's aroused a Koyach Elyon, which is a positive one, Chesed. But when we conduct ourselves below with the Shuras Adin, so then the relationship towards us is Shuras Adin. The Avos, their Avodas Hashem, where they fulfilled the entire Torah before it was given, that is act of Chesed. Kaviyachol to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's true, he doesn't need it, but they wanted to give it. And that's the true symbol of Chesed as opposed to Rachamim. Rachamim is when there's some catalyst which provokes my mercy. Chesed is I give because I give. I'm a giver. So the Avos were not giving because their Cheshbon HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs it. No, they gave HaKadosh Baruch Hu because they were givers. And that part of that giving was to do the mitzvahs before they were commanded in them. And this will bring a goy livnei v'neihem. This will bring the answer to the descendants, even if they're not roy for on their own chesed, or if they're but certainly not roy, and they're not roy for din. But nevertheless, Laman Shmo B'Yahava, there's another reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being the Gula. Nothing to do with us. We might be jerks. We might not deserve it. But God's name is being desecrated. And God loves us despite what we've done wrong. So therefore, Laman Shmo B'Yahava means for the sake of his holy name, which is attached to us, which in turn is connected to Hafto, son of Ratzisa Bana, the love which he has directed towards us. So saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, you have to do it in the final analysis. I tried to get rid of Chazdei Avos, right? But if I can't, then the Yichus doesn't work. Then L'man Shmo and hopefully B'Ahava. Truth of the Shema and Ahava could be two separate things, but we don't have to get into that right now. So I think the Chasimas HaBrocha is fairly obvious. Actually, it's not. You know what? We'll leave the Chasimas HaBrocha for tomorrow night because I have to explain some detail. Okay, I hope this was beneficial. Again, please send me comments. I'm happy to receive them. Have a good day, good evening, depending on when you listen and watch this program. Cold.